Yeah, thanks, Erhan, for coming in. I think you, as Dinesh set you up, so I've got less to say. I'm going to, at the moment, share my screen. I have a very, very brief presentation, really. Let me get back to the front page, sorry. All right, okay, Yilport, because good afternoon, good morning, good evening to people. I noticed in the participants list, we have people from Asia as well joining us. And maybe, I think Yilport is pretty much well known in this part of the world, but like to give a bit of a taste of Yilport in the global sphere. Right, we pride ourselves as being game changers in port operations and management. This has been our tagline as a port company. A little bit about the group as well. We are part of a conglomerate. We're spread across 4 continents and 51 countries. Basically, we're headquartered in Istanbul, in Maslak. We have representatives in different parts of the world. Our main pillars are ports and port management, metals and mining, fertilizer. We also have a small shipping division. We also have logistics, coal, coke, industrial construction, as well as forwarding as well through a company called Transitex and actually logistics in Turkey. So very much a global operator. Started in 1963, 5 sub-holding companies, as I said, mentioned, headed up in Istanbul, and about 13,000 employees globally. All right. The next one talks about Yilport. Yilport basically has a portfolio. I think Erhan touched on it. As I said, we started up in Turkey. I think in the previous speakers had also identified showed some connectivity to some of our terminals in Gebze and Gemlik Yilport. Essentially, again, we're ranked number 12 in the world in global operators, and our mission is to be in the top 10 by 2025. Right, we operate in 22 countries. We have 22 ports and terminals spread out, 6 inland depots, dry terminals, and as I said, we start in South America. We have 3: Guatemala, Ecuador, and Peru, where we have a JV with DP World. Then we have 7 ports in Portugal, 2 in Spain. And in the Nordic, we have 3 terminals, basically, and inland depots as well. Latest portfolio in our patch was Toronto. We also have Malta. I think Alex mentioned we have 50% equity there. So this is basically a profile of Yilport Holding. All right, I'm going to focus a little bit as a subject is basically linking Black Sea to the Mediterranean, right? I think one of the things that the previous speakers have already touched upon, and including my colleagues, is basically the importance of the Marmara Sea, right? Yilport, this what you see is a picture of Yilport, all right, and this is basically what our value chain is, right? As a terminal operator, most of our terminals in our portfolio are gate terminals, with the exception of Malta. And we provide the entire supply value chain, basically freight forwarding, trucking. And you can see this is in Gemlik, where we have a substantial footprint with industry built between and a free zone in the back end of the terminal, right? So it's, in essence, it's something that is quite common, I think, in Asian portfolio, where as Dinesh mentioned, I come from, where you have a port with a free zone at the back where you generate activity. Right, so essentially this is what we do in Gemlik, which is what you see up here in Yilport, which is probably our flagship terminal. We offer a full scale of bulk, as Erhan mentioned. Some of the bulk stuff comes in. We have a bulk berth, it's then recontainerized and exported in containers from the Black Sea. We have container facility. We have Ro-Ro to serve the car industry, as you can see in my pointer here. We do export Renault and Fiat, the manufacturing hubs here. So essentially a very, very wide portfolio. We also do a bit of obviously offer in the Bursa area. We are also doing the tugs and pilotage moves. Right, so it's a one-stop shop, depots, facilities, on dock, moving forward. All right. Now, why, as Erhan mentioned, and most of my colleagues, I think, I mentioned earlier on that in the Marmara Sea, I think Ambala is the only one doing a substantial amount of transshipment. We have, as I said, predominantly gate ports, but we have decided to embark on this journey of linking the ourselves as a hub. We have now basically eight QCs, all Super Panamax, 23 across, 23 plus one across, right, capable of handling 23,000 TEU vessels. We, as I said, and we'll be ready up and running by the 4 are already in operation. 4 arrived a month ago and are being commissioned. So we will have on the linear berth of 1 kilometer, 8 key cranes capable of handling 24,000 TEU vessels, right? We have a natural depth of 17 meters along the 1 kilometer footprint. And we are able to deploy 6 cranes or 8 cranes, depending on the size of vessel as it comes through. As I said, we are a one-stop shop, so there is obviously the bulk berths with mobile harbor cranes. So we have, of which we have 6. We also have 9 reach stackers, RTGs, and as I said, the footprint is quite extensive. As you can see, there's constant development of increasing the footprint. In fact, where the mouse is, you'll see all this destruction. Will be these warehouses coming down to create larger container yards. So in anticipation of our role in developing the transshipment portfolio, the other colleagues were, I think, mentioned about industry changes, COVID. We in Yilport remained open throughout the COVID exercise. We started operating on split shifts. One of the unique things about Yilport, I think, which very few people know, is we actually plan all our vessels, all our terminals centrally in Istanbul. So basically, our terminal in Porto Bolivar is planned from Istanbul. Our terminals in Nordic are planned and dispatched from Istanbul. So we have a global operations center, very much in line with what shipping lines have been doing in terms of centralized planning. So we've adopted the same view. It was in the same Navis platform. So obviously, IT is on our forefront, the dependency and the reliability of that. So when COVID struck, moving from I suppose in other terminals where you have your planning units sitting, your vessel planners, berth planners, and yard planners sitting in one location, we were able to do that remote. And in fact, we sent our workers home, right? So they were planning from their home based on whatever available resources they've already had, right? So we were largely untouched in terms of our operations. That being said, I think our colleagues have also touched on this. There was an impact. There was a shifting in markets. In Turkey, for example, we saw a 2% decline in our volumes across all our terminals in container. And again, general cargo was up a percentage point, right? But again, you take these opportunities and in a situation such as this, you find opportunities. We also have, as I mentioned earlier, an equity in a position in Toronto, a long-term concession in Toronto, which we took over in February of 2020. We started the first service linking Turkey and the Italian and onto Malta, the Turkmed service, and started in July, right in the middle of pandemic, right? So it is a situation similar to what Shayna mentioned in JSV. In pandemic situations, there are also opportunities which you need to ride and take advantage of, right? And this is where we see in ourselves, right? So as I said, we have 2 million capacity coming up, 8 cranes, 30 RTGs, I made a mistake, there's 30 RTGs, 6 over and 5 over, and mobile harbor cranes. So we have the footprint, we have the draft, we have the capability of handling these larger vessels, and that's an area where we see ourselves coming through. I think Arhan also mentioned the canal. The canals, in my experience, do cost a lot of money and will have high charges. And I think it comes down to the economics of it. I think one of the speakers, one of the questions was the Black Sea connecting onto Europe. I think this is a larger hinterland that we have to look at as well. The Black Sea can be a gateway for some Central Europe and over particularly natural flow of goods to Asia, coming from the middle of Europe, coming over the Black Sea down to Marmara, and then carrying on. That's our personal view. So that's essentially what we have. So one of the successes of any hub port, right? You know, transshipment, as you know, is very elastic. And I think Alex mentioned that earlier on. You know, when the COVID happened, trade is impacted, transshipment disappears, volumes drop, ports go direct point to point, and then the competition starts on who tries to get. One of the advantages we have in Istanbul, and I think my colleagues have all mentioned, is we have gate cargo. Today we do about 500,000 TEUs in Yilport and similar numbers in Gebze. And all this is basically hinterland cargo, imports, exports in our backyard. So it complements what the shipping lines want. You know, you come to a port, you want to pick up local imports and exports at the same time, you want to feed the wider network. So I think this is one of the advantages we have in Turkey, and these are basically the main areas where we are. And as I said, right in fringe of the Marmara, right on the edge of the Black Sea, and with an opportunity to be harnessed in the near term. With that, I thank you.